Kevin Costner has done it all throughout his illustrious 5-decade-long career. He's been a leading man in blockbuster hits, he's done quieter, more independent roles, and he's also shown his range across drama and action. On top of that, he's directed a number of his own performances too. But with over 70 screen credits to his name by this point, it's about time someone took a closer look at this award-winning actor's filmography. In this list, we'll be taking a look at the top 10 Kevin Costner movies of all time.
All right, that's it. Huh? Who are you, huh? What do you want from me?
Number 10, 13 Days.
Are you crazy? Nobody gives a rat's ass about Cuba. Not now, not ever. If you print something like that, all you're going to do is inflame the situation.
Over the years, Kevin Costner has been no stranger to starring in political thrillers based on real-life events. That said, few of them hold quite the same drama as his performance in 2000's 13 Days. And that's because this one sees him portray Kenneth O'Donnell, the special assistant to President John F. Kennedy, while he's trying to deal with the Cuban Missile Crisis. Yes, the subject material makes for a story that's tense at every turn, with the acting of Costner and others only serving to heighten this. Of course, while many praised our subject for his work here, others criticized his poor Boston accent in the film. In fact, so poor did natives of Massachusetts consider it to be, their accepted slang for someone doing a bad Boston accent now is Kevin Costner accent.
If we hit them, kill a lot of Russians, they'll move against Berlin. All right, they attack Berlin, that's NATO, and we're at war.
Well, damned if we do.
Number 9, Mr. Brooks.
All the pictures in the memory card from your camera. If you don't show up, I will presume that you've gone to the police, and I will kill you.
While it might not have been a huge hit at the box office, critical reappraisal of 2007's Mr. Brooks has seen it fall into the realm of cult classic in the years since. And a large part of the reason for that is the performance of Kevin Costner here as the titular Earl Brooks, a serial killer trying his best to fight his murderous urges. Needless to say then, this movie isn't always for the faint of heart, but if you are able to stomach it, you'll be treated to one of the most underrated movies of the 2010s. In fact, so good would Costner himself consider it to be, he'd later go on record as saying it was the best script he ever read.
If it turns out that you enjoy killing, it can become very addictive. It could ruin your life.
Number 8, McFarland, USA.
You guys are superhuman. What you endure just to be here, to get a shot at this, the kind of privilege that someone like me takes for granted.
Sure, it isn't his most famous performance in a sports film, but 2015's McFarland, USA can still stand tall as being one of Kevin Costner's best regardless of this. And that's because here, he's able to tap into his more world-weary self as a former football coach, now being forced to teach cross-country running instead. And to make matters even more difficult here, he has to deal with a student base who, at least initially, doesn't seem all that interested in bettering themselves. But given the fact they live in a poor Latino community with few opportunities available to them, it isn't surprising they have little faith in themselves. Of course, as things go on, this attitude changes and they start turning into a well-oiled unit. And in reality, Costner would find it pretty easy to connect with them all while on set, as he had actually attended a school 40 miles away from the one they were shooting in.
Best in California. McFarland's going to state. You hear that? We're going to state.
Number 7, Open Range. Kevin Costner hasn't done a huge amount of westerns over the course of his career, but whenever he has, he's made them count. And there's perhaps no better example of this in action than with his performance in 2003's Open Range. Here, we get to see him play the role of Charlie Waite, a former Union soldier trying to atone for his past sins during the war. But with this taking place in the Old West, he constantly finds himself getting drawn back into a life of violence. That said, it seems like for as much internal struggle as his character was going through, Costner knew he would have a ball playing the role. So much so that he actually turned down the part of the titular villain in Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill so as to be able to do this one instead. Number 6, No Way Out.
I'm the one in the picture, Sam. Susan Atwell was the woman I've been seeing. I had nothing to do with her death. I was in love with her.
It can be hard for any actor to share the screen with a heavyweight like Gene Hackman and not come out of the whole thing looking overshadowed. Thankfully then, Kevin Costner is good enough that he was able to shine when he starred alongside the Academy Award winner in 1987's political thriller, No Way Out. And that's because here, he pretty much steals the show as Lieutenant Commander Tom Farrell, a Navy officer who gets swept along in an attempted cover-up scheme when one of his colleagues accidentally kills their wife. Of course, given the engrossing nature of the script, Costner would get heavily into this one, so much so that, At one point during filming, he'd roll over the hood of a moving car himself rather than use a stunt double, prompting the insurance executive on set to get pretty upset with him.
You murdered Sam, did you? You asshole.
Number 5. A Perfect World.
2 seconds, I'm gonna break your nose. That's a threat.
While he may be better known for playing heroic figures, Kevin Costner has certainly proven time and time again he has the range to play a villain too. And maybe the best villain performance he's ever given would come in 1993's A Perfect World. So what's the story of this one? Well, after escaping prison, Costner's character, Robert Haynes, is forced to take a young boy hostage as he flees the authorities. Of course, in the hands of a lesser actor, it would be impossible to relate to this character at all then. But with Costner in full command of his craft here, he's able to put us in their mind fully. That said, at one point during filming, he almost found himself getting replaced. And that was because after he briefly stormed off set following a disagreement with director Clint Eastwood, the crew would just keep filming. Then, once Costner returned, Eastwood would tell him that if he did anything like this again, his stand-in would be taking his place permanently.
We got a handful of captures. You're shooting water tanks.
Smart guy, huh, Philip?
Number 4. Field of Dreams.
Wait a second, why him? I built this field. You wouldn't be here if it weren't for me. Well, you wouldn't be here if it weren't.
You have a family.
I know, but I want to know what's out there.
While Kevin Costner has appeared in a lot of iconic movies over the years, you could make a solid argument the best known of them all is 1989's Field of Dreams. Why is that? Well, as one of the most enduring sports films of all time, it's long since reached legendary status by this point. Yes, telling the tale of Ray Kinsella and his creation of a baseball diamond which ends up drawing in the ghosts of players from the past, the magic is all too real here. So real was it for audiences, in fact, it would become one of the biggest hits of that year. But as it happened, this one almost didn't star Costner at all. And that was because, with him already having starred in the baseball movie Bull Durham the year prior, the producers almost didn't ask him as they felt sure he would say no.
Sorry.
Number 3. The Untouchables.
My friend was killed today.
I don't care.
Hey, now he does.
The real-life story of Elliot Ness and his attempts to bring down liquor baron Al Capone had become so legendary by the 1980s that it was inevitable a film was going to be made about the situation. Luckily then, when one was finally made, it would turn out to be 1987's The Untouchables, a masterpiece in every sense of the word. That's right, it's hard to find a single flaw in this crime epic as, whether it be the great script, the expert direction from Brian De Palma, or the fantastic performance from Kevin Costner as Ness, everything just works perfect here. And as it happened, part of the reason Costner was so great was because he had been able to get help from Albert H. Wolff, the last surviving member of the real Untouchables, when it came to building his character. Number 2. JFK.
I'm making murder a meaningless act of a loner. We've all become Hamlets in our country, children of a slain father leader.
The movie that launched 1,000 conspiracy theories, 1991's Oliver Stone classic JFK, remains to this day a searing deep dive into the possible cover-ups surrounding the assassination of former U.S. President John F. Kennedy. But while so much of what people remember about this one are all the different rabbit holes it goes down when it comes to who really killed JFK, the real anchor holding it all together is Kevin Costner. And that's because here, he gives a powerhouse performance as Jim Garrison, the real-life district attorney who dared to challenge the official story. In fact, so invested would Costner get in the role that, during the scene where he gives his closing summation to the court, his tears would be all too real. And that was because the weight of what had really happened to the former president suddenly hit him hard in the moment.
He was not a real defector. That he was an intelligence agent on some kind of mission for our government and remained one till the day he died. That's what we're saying.
Our number 1 pick is Dances with Wolves.
All right, now get your ass off the wagon.
Put it down.
And help me unload.
We're just having a conversation. Now put it down.
Really, when it comes to what the best Kevin Costner movie of all time is, the only answer there was ever going to be was Dances with Wolves. Yes, the film which saw him win an Academy Award for directing tells the tale of a soldier in the American Civil War who ends up becoming disillusioned and joining forces with a Native American tribe instead. And because of the respect he showed the Native American community in this one, Costner would later be made an honorary member of the Lakota Native tribe, a position he still holds to this day. Looking at the film's ratings, we find that Dances with Wolves received a strong 8 out of 10 on IMDb.com and an almost as good 72 from Metacritic. As for Rotten Tomatoes, they'd give it 87% on the tomato meter, with a similarly impressive 87% given by the audience. And there we have it, the top 10 Kevin Costner movies of all time. No doubt you have your own list, so be sure to let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and get alerted of our next video. We'll hope to see you soon!